Hello. Today I'm going to start reading through the second chapter of my book, The Baha'i Faith, A Short History, this one dealing with the emergence of the Bābī movement. The chapter consists of 6 sections, firstly on the Bāb, then the Bāb's declaration and claims, then the initial expansion of the movement, fourthly the relationship with Shi'ism, then the relationships with the ulama and secular authorities, and finally the Bāb's early writings and teachings. Sayyid Ali Muhammad the Bāb was born in the southern Iranian city of Shiraz on the 20th of October 1819 into a family of traders and merchants. His father, Sayyid Muhammad Reza, died while the Bāb was still a child, and he was brought up by his mother, Fatima Begum, and under the guardianship of one of her brothers, Haji Mirza Sayyid Ali. He was an only child. His family claimed descent from the Prophet Muhammad, hence the title Sayyid. As a boy, Ali Muhammad attended a local Quranic school for his elementary education, as well as receiving commercial training from his family. Then, when he was 15, he began work in his uncle's business in the port city of Bushehr, later setting up as an independent merchant. Several accounts emphasize the boy's extreme piety, and certainly by the time he was living in Bushehr, religious concerns were of primary importance to him. Thus, in about 1841, he felt impelled to close his office and embark on an extended pilgrimage to the Shi'i shrine cities in Iraq, where his fervent devotion attracted some attention, including among individuals who were later to become his disciples. He eventually returned to his home in Shiraz, where in August 1842 he married one of his cousins, Khadija. The young couple's only child died in infancy in 1843. Ali Muhammad's extreme piety and asceticism continued to attract attention, and it seems that he now began to gain a special reputation for holiness, some perhaps going so far as to see him as a living saint with miraculous powers. Certainly, by his own account, he now experienced a number of visionary dreams, in one of the most dramatic of which, in April 1844, he saw the severed head of the Imam Hussein, drops of whose blood he drank and whose grace he thus imbibed. He felt as if the Spirit of God had permeated and taken possession of his soul. He also began to write on religious themes, this being a highly unusual activity for someone who had not received a specialized clerical education. This growing consciousness of divine inspiration culminated in the Bāb's declaration of mission in May 1844. Various accounts of this declaration exist, but the key event, I should say, was the conversion of one of the most prominent and influential of the younger sheikhs, Mullah Hussein Bushu'i, which occurred on the evening of the 22nd of May 1844. This represented a turning point. Not only did Ali Muhammad now claim to be the bearer of a divine mission, but he had gained his first disciple. A new religious movement had come into being. The exact nature of Ali Muhammad's early claims and of the understanding of them within the fledgling Bābī movement remains ambiguous. Eventually, the Bāb was to lay open claim to be the awaited Imam, the Mahdi, and to be the bearer of a new divine revelation. But at first, he was widely understood to be claiming to be only the intermediary, the Bāb or gate, between the hidden 12th Imam and the Shi'i faithful. Thus, he became generally known as the Bāb, and his followers as Bābīs. Different readings have been made of the Qayyum al-Asma, the most important of the Bab's early writings, and begun on the night of his initial declaration. Terminology suggesting that he was the gate of the Imam was used, but it seems highly likely that more was intended. Thus, the Qayyum al-Asma itself is composed in the manner of the Quran, and although written at the behest of the hidden Imam, is also presented as new verses from God. Higher claims are implicit. The Bāb was the Imam's own self in the worlds of command and creation, and clerical readers in Karbala and elsewhere were quick to condemn the book as purporting to be the descent of divine revelation. Given that the Bāb was later to make explicit claims of this nature, it may well be that they were intended from the beginning, but were initially concealed. Certainly, in 1847, the Bāb referred to the progression of his claims, his initial position being intended to prevent people from becoming agitated by the coming of a new book or revelation. In whatever way the Bāb's initial status was understood, it was clear from the beginning that he was making extraordinary claims to authority in Shi'i terms. The challenge to the ulama was particularly clear. Even if the Bāb was only the Imam's intermediary, he was now to be seen as the supreme authority in the Shi'i world, and the ulama could only continue to exercise their own authority as his agents. His claims demanded a response, whether it be the utter devotion of his followers or the bitter enmity of his opponents. Apart from the complex nature of the Bāb's particular religious claims, his actual appeal as a religious leader was evidently multifaceted. Thus, his declaration occurred in the context of the crisis in leadership that followed Sayyid Kazem's death in Karbala. There was no appointed successor to the Sayyid, and several of the leading disciples advanced claims to leadership. For a significant number of sheikhs, then, the Bāb represented a charismatic successor to the first two sheikhi masters. Beyond this, there was the Bāb's popular appeal. Even prior to the declaration of his claims, the Bāb was seen as a saintly ascetic, and as such was a potential focus of popular piety. Within Shiraz, this appeal appears to have been strengthened after he commenced his mission, and many people who were not Bābīs acquired copies of his writings. For some at least, because of the sacred power these were assumed to possess. His appeal as a popular holy man resurfaced at other times in his mission. Far more specific than this was the Bāb's announcement of the near advent of the Imam Mahdi, that his own mission commenced in the year 1260 of the Hijra, that's 1844 in the Western calendar, the 1000th anniversary of the original disappearance of the 12th Imam in AH 260, readily accorded with this claim, of course, and both accentuated and attracted the millenarian sentiment that was prevalent at the time. Mullah Hussein and a group of other young sheikhs who had followed him to Shiraz after the death of Sayyid Kazem accepted the Bāb and were then sent by him to various parts of Iran to announce his claims, but without as yet divulging his name. A widespread network of Bābī groups soon came into being, mostly amongst the existing sheikhi communities. A special messenger, Mullah Ali Bastami, was sent by the Bāb to the Shi'i holy cities in Iraq to present the Bāb's claims. Again, first addressing himself to the sheikhs, Mullah Ali succeeded in gaining a considerable number of converts, both Iranians and Arabs. When he turned to the most prominent non-Sheikhi Shi'i cleric, Sheikh Muhammad Hassan al-Najafi, however, he was denounced as a heretic, and the Bāb's writings branded as blasphemous. A coalition of Shi'i ulama in Iraq rapidly formed to oppose Mullah Ali's influence, which continued to spread. In January 1845, Mullah Ali was tried by a joint tribunal of Sunni and Shi'i ulama and sent to Istanbul, where he was sentenced to hard labour in the Istanbul dockyards. The Bāb, meanwhile, journeyed to Mecca for the pilgrimage season, accompanied only by one of his disciples and a servant. There he proclaimed his cause, but he elicited little response. Having received news of Mullah Ali's reception in Iraq, he cancelled a projected gathering of his followers in Karbala, where they were to await the arrival of the Mahdi, and instead returned to Shiraz in July 1845. This change of plan was attributed to badāʼ, the alteration of divine decree in response to changed circumstances, an essentially heretical doctrine which indicated the unorthodox nature of Bābī millenarianism. Some of those who had been caught up in the general millenarian excitement of the Bāb's first announcement now fell away, leaving only the most committed. I will continue this account in the next video. You are very welcome to support my YouTube channel if you'd like, and subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.